to tell you how I met your mother.
Oh, no.
No! Yay! We already heard this story tons of times. Barely read it in your closet.
And it'll take, if it takes as long as other people telling stories like that, it'll take about 10 years to get it done. Okay. That funny? Okay, so seriously, I'm not going to tell you how I met your mother, but I am going to tell you what's taken place and what happened over this last year. So, you remember how back last year, Mommy and Poppy, we're all living in Thurmont. We're sitting on the porch and we had an important conversation and we talked about what are we supposed to do next? Because we're ministering at the food bank and preaching different places. And Mommy and Poppy said, if this is all we're going to do and Poppy's healed now and everything's played out so that we can do ministry again, we need to figure out where we can do ministry. And if we don't feel called to Thurmont, where is it we're called to be? So we started praying way back then. We're going to wait 6 months and then hear what God said. Well, January 1st, do you remember we went to the conference center? We hung out with the Boggs family, Miss Crystal and Mr. John and their folks. And Mr. Lee, he told us some really awesome things. You don't remember? Okay. Well, way back then, Mommy and Poppy, we hung out there, and Mr. Lee said some really awesome things. It was all the stuff that God had been telling me that I was telling your mommy. And I was telling her about revival and how Jesus wants to move again. And specific terms I used, he talked about. So Mommy and Poppy walked away from there, you remember? And we said, God's really spoken to us. We need to move back to North Carolina. Do you remember that?
January 1st.
Back in January when we were visiting North Carolina. Okay, well, stop shaking your head and listen. So we came out of there and we decided we got to move back to North Carolina. So from January all the way to April, Mommy and Poppy started working as hard as we could to get the house done. I painted every room in the house. You remember that? I painted day and night, and I worked for work, and I did Jesus stuff, but I was working as hard as I could to move us. And then we put the house on the market, and then you know the whole crazy story about how long it took us to sell the house. But we put it on the market, we moved here, and remember Poppy said, I had said, we've got to move by before July 1st. I wanted to be here before July 1st in North Carolina. Remember how we drove through the night, and we made it at 11:45 or something to Yaya's? Remember that? We're so excited we crossed the line.
You guys were asleep. They were asleep.
They were asleep.
It was a really bad storm.
Okay, so we drove through the night. Don't shake your head, just listen. We drove through the night and we made it. And we made it just in time and we beat July 1st and we felt like God told us to do it even though we didn't sell the house. I want to tell you the story that you didn't know. So back in November of last year when God was telling us that we needed to do something different, we were thinking we're supposed to minister at the church in Thurmont in Morning Star, but it just didn't work. It didn't fit. And it turns out, guess what? The pastor who's there, her son-in-law is really called to preach. And so we're praying God set some up as the pastor. So it wasn't us. We heard God. We were not supposed to be there. It was someone else. Well, at the same time, do you know Mr. Allen and all the cool guys that hang out with him, like Mr. Jason, Mr. Jake, Miss Heather, and Jesse, and Jenna, you know all them? And yep, and Mr. Isaac.
And
he's hanging out
Malachi.
now. And Jim does too, your favorite person in the world.
The
Throws
kitty
himself
cat
down
guy.
after chasing y'all. Anyways, so they were hanging out last year, and Mr. Allen said, you know what we need to pray for here at our church at New Life?
To come there.
No. First he said we need to pray for a young family with 2 or 3 kids to come. You know, 2 or 3 young kids to come and minister. So then, after the new year, Mr. Allen starts telling them, you know who we need to pray moves here? Dustin and Lori, Anna, Lydia, and Malachi. We didn't know. So that whole group had been praying for us to come. He called me and said, hey, I heard you're moving back to town. I said, how did you hear that?
Right before you told
right before I was telling everybody.
We made our surprise announcement video.
And all that. And then Mr. Allen's like, I don't know, I guess God told me. And I said, well, you're right. And here's the funny thing. On January 1st, when we left the Boggs' house, we looked at each other, Mommy and Poppy, and we said directly, we need to go talk to Mr. Allen. He'll tell us what we're supposed to do next. Can you believe that? And so we then had this conversation back on the porch a year ago. Mommy said, do you think we'll be sitting on a porch? Yep. Mommy said, do you think we'll be sitting on a porch sometime in the future? and we'll all realize what this was all about in the first place? And I said, I don't know. And guess what? We're sitting on the porch at Mr. Allen's, and all
In
those people were
August.
in August. All those people were sitting together, and they told us that. And then Lori goes,
No, it
Oh,
was Jenna. Miss Jenna
Miss
said,
Jenna
"You're
says,
sitting on a
"You're
porch
sitting on a porch."
right now."
And right then, right there, we knew what God was telling us to do. We knew God had us there at New Life. Mr. Allen said, "We've been praying for you to come. There's so many people that want you here. There's so many people from your history. You'll be so loved and so received at New Life Church." And we didn't believe it. We were like, well, we'll see. So we went to church that first
He
Sunday.
said, "Just come and just
Yep.
come."
He said, just come and see. So we went to church that Sunday, and people just, remember, they came and they talked to us and they hugged on us. They said, "Oh, we're so glad you're here." And kids that were my old kids in youth are now adults, and they have their own kids in ministry, and they're ministering at New Life. All of those friends are there. Well, you know how good it's gone the last little bit? They started to have me preach. It's gone real good. Have you seen people get saved and accept Jesus in their hearts? You heard about it? People been asking Jesus in their hearts. We've been praying for people. Church has been moving. The church is growing. New people are coming that haven't been there before. Well, guess what?
What?
They've been asking Mommy, Poppy if we would consider praying about staying there. And even if we go other places and do conferences and preach other places and minister, like evangelism, they were asking if Poppy would pray about being the pastor of evangelism, and Mommy would pray about being involved in leadership. And so, let me ask you a question. Come here, Malachi, let me see it. Come here, Anna, give it to me. He's gonna get to hold it because you're fighting. So, how would you guys feel if Poppy was a pastor again? Would you be excited? Oh, yay! Oh, he said you be pastor. Oh, Poppy pastor. Oh my goodness.
Maybe I should start calling you Poppy Pastor.
So would you guys be okay with that if I were pastoring again?
I'm gonna start.
Now listen. I'm not going to be the head pastor. Pastor Steve is going to stay our head pastor.
I'm gonna start
I'm
calling you
excited.
Pastor Poppy.
And people probably call me PD again. But here's the thing. My focus is evangelism. They want me to win as many people to Jesus as possible. They want me to do crusades, conferences if I need to, train
that
people,
one day
outreach.
You're gonna be doing that with Malachi.
Come on, with all of you, would you guys go with me? Awesome.
Yay!
Yay! So I guess it's settled. We're gonna do it. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy. Come here, give me hugs, little ins. Come here. Oh, I love you. Oh. Oh, I love you. Oh, we're gonna do it, team.
Here,
Oh.